All right, so in this video, what we're going to be talking about is the structure of the mitochondria. As we've talked about before, the mitochondria is necessary in order for aerobic respiration to take place. So aerobic respiration is when we have not only a mitochondria, but also oxygen available. And it goes through glycolysis, and then within the mitochondria, we have something called the Krebs cycle, and then we have the last reaction called the electron transport chain. So these two here are needed for aerobic respiration to happen, and they both happen inside of the mitochondria. Let's take a little bit closer look at the mitochondria structure. All right, so here's our mitochondria structure. We can see it has this outer membrane to it. Okay. On the inside, you can see that it has this inner membrane that's kind of going back and forth. Inside of that, we can see that it has things like DNA. Okay, so remember guys, it's thought that in the past the mitochondria was its own free living cell, so it had its own DNA, and that it at one point got engulfed. That was part of the endosymbiotic theory. And it also has ribosomes to help make proteins. And then there's space, the intermembrane space, and that's between the outer membrane and the inner membrane. Okay, and then on the inside of the inner membrane is an area called the matrix. Okay, a couple things here. The matrix, the blue stuff in here, that's where the Krebs cycle actually takes place. So when we think about the Krebs cycle, you want to think about it taking place on the inside here, on the very inside of the mitochondria at the matrix. And then when we're talking about the inner membrane, well, the inner membrane, that is where we have the electron transport chain taking place. So the electron transport chain is taking place on this inner membrane here. Okay, that's the ETC. Anywhere where you see these folds, that's called areas that's called the Cristae. So anytime it folds on itself, it's called the Cristae. So why does the inner membrane fold so much? Why does the inner membrane create these Cristae? So let's take a look. So here we have two cells. Our top cell, you can see has lots of folds, and our bottom cell, not so many folds. And basically, the folding of the inner membrane and creating these cristae helps us create lots of surface area. So the top cell has lots of surface area on the inner membrane, and the bottom cell, not so much. Well, why is that a big deal? Well, because the electron transport chain takes place in this inner membrane, right? The more inner membrane we have, the more surface area of the inner membrane we have, the more chemical reactions that can actually take place, which means the more ATP that can be made, because the end goal of the electron transport chain is to make ATP. So the more of this membrane we have, the more ATP that can be made. So this top cell can make lots of ATP using the ETC, and this bottom cell, not so much. All right, so that was a very brief review, very brief of the big look at the big ideas with the mitochondria. If you're not sure about the mitochondria and you're still kind of confused on its structure or what takes place where, you want to rewatch this video.